That's that was a big choice for you to do, because I think you have to start turning down work. That's probably the toughest thing, because you can't. So after about a year or so of that, people think, oh, okay, well, Charles is at the school, and they don't think about you, so they don't call you. So it was a tough choice. And but did you, just a few years ago, you had stopped working in that capacity. Why? Why did you go back to carrying a kid?
Well, there's a number of different reasons. The school and I mean, I put, like I do with, like most of us, again, we work so hard on our projects. My entire adult life has been spent in one industry, and that's this one. And I pretty much put all my eggs in that basket. Working on a film, you have a finite contract. You start shooting, or even a television series. You don't necessarily know how long it's going to go. You might go 2 seasons, 3 seasons, but you know that there's an end coming. And it's not like people who have a real job out there in the real normal world, where you could go on doing the same thing for your entire life. That I could not even imagine. I could not bear that. And I think we get used to in this business being able to have freshness in our lives. We have a constant turnover of new experiences, new people, new crews, new scripts to read, new locations to go to. And that is, I think, what is a real driving force in my life. If I have the constancy of my family life, which I do, my lovely wife Bernie's here, my daughter Brielle, thanks for coming, you guys. And I had to pay them money though. Just kidding. The reality was that I'd done 5 years at the school, and I'd achieved a lot. But you also get to the point where you realize you're only one person, and as much as you imprint without really trying to, you imprint the program in this case with certain aspects of your personality. And I was recognizing 2 things. Number one, that ending was coming up, and I needed to change. I needed to do something else. Number 2, I'd done most of what I think I could have personally done at the school. And number 3, it was time for fresh perspectives for that program. And I was really, really lucky, and I was a little bit smart. I don't want to give myself too much credit. But my friend Stan Edmonds, congratulations, Stan, today on the performance of the students. Stan and I have known each other for a long, long time, probably 40 years. We used to do magic. We were in the same magic club as kids. Again, that parallel. He grew up in Calgary, and he came in as my senior instructor. Nothing to do with being an assistant. Senior instructor at the school a year before I left. And this succession was logical.
A good segue though.
Yeah.
Now it's wonderful. How many years were you working at VFS?
I took the contract there October of 2003, and I finished about the beginning of 2008. So it was the middle of 2008, so it was 5 years.
So you don't do film work for 5 years. You come out of that, and pretty quickly, not the first job, but almost in a very short period of time, you end up with Eclipse.
Yes.
That is, isn't that nice how he just jumps right in? Oh, I have to go back and make up again. You do one of the biggest films that's being talked about in all over the world. Tell us about you becoming a part of this Twilight saga. How did that happen?
Well, that was a concern. How was I going to make that re-entrance into this grand theater of ours? It's tough enough to get a job as a makeup artist, but how was I going to do it with a sense of expectation? People wanted to see what I was going to do, and I have to admit, I kind of only half-consciously generated interest by kind of laying low for a while. If all of a sudden you're out there in everybody's face, which I was at the school, I was promoting the school, I was doing tours, I did your show often in London and Los Angeles. You get to a point where everybody's expecting to see you, and your network is constantly moving, and you're connected to so many people, you talk to so many people on a daily basis, and then all of a sudden I literally just disappeared. Didn't return emails, didn't return phone calls. I vanished, I literally vanished. There were rumors, I don't know, I'm sure you guys have heard rumors. There was, at one point I was very, very sick with an unnamed disease. There was another point where I'd sold everything. I heard somebody mentioned I'd sold everything and moved up to Atlan, BC to open a fishing lodge. I heard a number of different things, but basically what happened was I just decided I needed, and again, I put every ounce of effort into that school, into that program. And you know, the reason why I wanted that program to be a leader and change things, and I think there has been that development. And you know, I maintain very friendly relationships with all of the other schools, with local schools, with Blanche, who's been here a long time, has a great program, all these different schools. And you know, this was a partnership. I would invite their students to things, and we had this great thing going on. And what happened was, when I was finished, when I was literally spent at BFS, I needed to recharge my batteries. So by dropping out of the picture for a while, people were like, all of a sudden, you know, it's that piece of furniture that's not in your way when you come around the corner. Where's Charles? If you don't mind that analogy. So literally, I generated some ongoing interest by being absent and being obviously absent in people's minds. And so when I decided to do a little bit of work, Howard was very, he mentioned this morning, and I did some work with him in the spring last year. On a cute little werewolf movie for Nickelodeon. And then I did some work on the Hot Tub Time Machine, doing a little bit of a funny little movie, and just sort of slowly got into it. And lo and behold, you know, this is the other thing, and this goes back to being professional, maintaining good standards, good relationships. The producers that knew that I'd come back, I let a few people know, and they had been talking, and I was so fortunate because at the same time last year, I had a choice. I was literally in the gate for 3 very different movies, each with great merits. One was, what's the one, I just blanked out. It was the kids movie that just came out recently. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which my kids read, was one. Shooting in Vancouver. The A-Team was shooting in Vancouver. And Eclipse. And all of these producers I had very strong relationships with previously, and all of them were willing to call me and go on faith that I hadn't shriveled up and dried up and lost my mental faculty, and that I could in fact still do makeup. So it was a really great place to be, and luckily too, the makeup artists that did those shows, I was in great stead, but we all phone each other and say, well, I don't know what's your timeline. And part of it for me was I needed to get back to work. I'd been off for a while. I was chomping at the bit, not to mention, the bank account needs the injection. So I decided what I would do is do Eclipse, because it started first, and it was a sizable picture with, again, a huge following already, lots of attention. So it was a good move for me to make that re-entry.
Working on that film, it's under a real microscope. We were talking about how things have changed and how the media is on it. It's so instant. Somebody takes a picture with a cell phone, and moments later it's on the internet. That part has radically changed our culture that we're working on film. And caused so much paranoia. So Twilight is like that times 10. Have you ever worked on a project like that had that kind of scrutiny and intensity?
You work on projects that have very high-profile performers, right, that everybody wants to see. So there isn't that aspect of managing that, and that had been brought forward. But you have to realize, too, after 5 years being sort of away from it, in terms of actually working on a set, what had happened with Eclipse is that when I came back into the industry, and I started out, and like I say, my first major kick at the can was on Eclipse. The thing that is this monster that is celebrity culture, this celebutainment, I think has been coined as a phrase, celebutainment, where if you buy these trashy magazines, almost every page that you flip to, there's no real substance to it. You're seeing somebody shopping. You're seeing somebody laying on a towel on the beach. And the text is about the bulge in their tongue. And this is an industry that's being driven by millions probably billions of dollars in sales. And it's a relatively new phenomenon. And I think what was interesting for me on Eclipse, of course, is that after 2 movies being already in the can, and with the second one almost released, the awareness and the expectation and this whole celebrity monster that Summit had created to support the sales and the distribution and the marketing of the films was so monstrous